Hey, everybody. Hey, listen, man. Today, we're finally releasing on time. Pumped. Okay, guys. Here we go. If you are new to the show, welcome. Glad you found us. What we do on this show, we talk with top producing real estate agents. But, hey, look, if you don't sell real estate, not a problem. The stuff that we talk about and all this stuff will and can and does apply to pretty much every other business. Whether you're a pie maker, plumber, painter, the stuff that we talk about can help you. All right, today's episode. This guy is a good guy. He's a serial entrepreneur. He's had restaurants, he's had financial service companies, whatever. His latest thing is real estate. And I got to tell you, this guy just finished up his 6th year in business and finished it off with 442 transactions, 450 deals, 6th year in business. So if you guys are out there and you've been, struggling for 2, 3, 4 years, look, this can be done. And what I will tell you, just kind of as a primer for this content is, how he started. He says in the episode, he goes, look, I'm an old school guy. He's like, you can go buy the latest internet widget or do whatever, but nothing beats personal relationships. He's like, if I get a meeting with that person, I'm going to take that business. So again, some of you guys are out there going, oh man, my runway's drying up. I only have another 2 months of expenses. I just want you to listen to this guy, and you don't need a big marketing budget initially to go out and have some good success. Okay, so here's what we talk about. We talk, one big takeaway that we hit on early on, and it is very thematic of all these top producers that I meet with, is that he started his real estate business as a business. And I think that's where a lot of people make their mistakes. Is they're just selling houses instead of treating it like a business. Whether that's time blocking or there's a lot of things and a lot of it, guys, comes down to implementing systems and processes. That's the only way you're going to get to 442 transactions, system process. And look, and to be honest with you, with the stuff that we have going on, the only way this episode's coming out on time is systems and processes. Okay, so that's a big takeaway. Biz like a biz. Now I got to tell you, I'm releasing this August 2015. I recorded it in November 2014. We have a lot of content on the books here, guys. So that's okay. Even though it's a little bit old, the content isn't old. And I can tell you just kind of an updated thing. Today's guest, when we recorded, he was in Portland. And since then, he has launched expansion teams in Seattle. And he's launching a brand new office here in San Diego, where I'm at. And consequently, he's also doing radio with us. So we're going to help him build his business on radio here in San Diego. So that's what I want to just tell you that up front, because maybe you are here in San Diego. You want to work with a top guy like this guy. And this guy's a good guy. Okay. And what we talk about, he started his business in 2008, the worst year ever to start a real estate business, but he started in 2008. And we talk about what he did in that market as people were washing out of real estate. We also talk about, how to create a business that wins, that produces, regardless of outside economic conditions. And I think that, again, I think it's important to you guys. Another takeaway, again, it doesn't cost any money. It takes a little effort. Why leveling up and modeling top producers in your market, in the nation, whatever, from listening on the show, model folks, figure out what's working for them. And take bits and pieces and make it your own. Okay, here we go. Let's get into the intro music, and then we'll do a little housekeeping. Welcome to Super Agents Live. This is the one place where you can come and hear the most successful people in real estate. You'll hear how these super agents built their businesses, how they stay productive, and how they stay motivated. Who am I? My name's Toby Salgado, and I made my first $1 million in real estate. Yeah. And I'm your host for the next 30 minutes while we talk to yet another amazing real estate entrepreneur. Stay tuned.
Let's go! Yeah.
All right, quick housekeeping. We always do this. Look, We have a very strong Twitter following. My handle is @SuperAgentsLive. This show's hashtag is #UnpackThatIdea. That's a big follow train. I encourage everybody to use that hashtag. I'll follow you. I encourage everybody else in our community to follow one another and, build a little tribe out there. We kind of have that. As usual, this show is brought to you by Real Estate Radio Experts. Speaking of leveling up, listings are hard to find. Radio, guys, it works. It works crazy good. If you want listing leads, if you want sellers to come and say, come list my house, it's being on radio. And look, it's not as expensive as you think. So you can either go to the site, superagentslive.com or realestateradioexperts.com and fill out the getting started sheet to share with me a little bit about what you're doing today, what your biz looks like, and we'll see if we're a good fit. We're not a good fit for everybody. Last piece, you're not going to want to miss future upcoming episodes. So go to superagentslive.com, and I'm gonna warn you guys, or I'm gonna tell you up front. We've recently, list building is a big deal. You guys should be building your database. Light boxes or pop-up boxes, they work. Everybody hates them, but they work. So you're gonna go to superagentslive.com and you're gonna get a pop-up box. So fill it out and download and you join the community. Download my ebook. And I'll share with you stuff on our list that I don't share in the show. All right, that's it. Let's get to the content. Aaron Rian. Today on the show, I'm pretty excited about this guy. Our guest today has a team of 21. He's in Portland, Oregon. So his average sales price is about $230. This year, he will do his 6th year in the business. He will do 448 transactions. Unbelievable, for a total volume of about 141 million. I am thrilled to welcome Aaron Rian. Hey, Aaron, thanks for taking the time out today.
Thank you, Toby. It's a pleasure to be here. And the last name's Ryan.
Ryan, sorry, bud. Sorry, I should have asked you that before we started recording. But listen, so I know you've been in the business for a very short amount of time. You've had this meteoric rise from 0 to almost 500 transactions, or 450. Just before we get into that, I do want to get into that. Tell us a little bit about yourself. We want to get a feel for who you are, and then we'll get into your business.
Sure. Born and raised in Portland, Oregon. Been an entrepreneur, owned different businesses, insurance companies, restaurants, financial services companies, and just applied a lot of my, basic business skills, to the real estate business.
Interesting. Okay. So insurance companies, you're a serial entrepreneur. That's wild, man. Insurance to restaurants, financial services, and now real estate. Sounds like my career. What is that? Tell us, why is that? Were you just looking for your thing and you landed on real estate, or, okay, listen, here's how I view this. So insurance company, you can be a loan guy, just like real estate.
Sure.
Financial service is the same thing. And that could be, I don't know what that is, but you could sell stocks. Financial services is a big, but then a restaurant's a whole different ball of wax.
Yeah.
How did that go for you?
So, each one of my businesses in each field, my plan, with each of those businesses was always to have an exit strategy. Mm-hmm. I acquired those businesses, built them up, built their sales channels and their marketing channels up, and sold each one of them at a profit. And then while I was involved in those businesses, I had a side hobby of developing and flipping real estate, and decided that when I got to a point after selling a couple of my businesses, it was either early retirement or look at the real estate business seriously, and decided to go with the real estate business.
Okay, that's interesting. So another interesting thing of what you're doing, or being again a serial entrepreneur like yourself, these are all consumer-facing ventures. Why did you stick with consumer-facing instead of going like a more business-to-business route?
Well, I enjoyed, with real estate, one of the things that I always enjoyed, and, the same thing with insurance to some degree, financial services, and even the restaurant business was, seeing people happy with your product and your service. A lot of times when you're doing business to business, you don't necessarily see the, your customer satisfaction with your product or your service. And in the, business to, individual business to person sale, you get to see, your client satisfaction and, how much they appreciate and value your service or product that you're offering.
Got it. Okay. Interesting. So now you get into real estate. Now, when you thought about, you took this hobby of yours and you made it a real thing, did you see, did you see something missing? Did you get into this going, hey, I can fix this or I can do a better job, or was it just a passion project for you?
I did. I saw a big hole in the marketplace, and I knew a lot of realtors prior to, becoming one myself. And the thing that I always realized about them was, a lot of them were great salespeople, but not a lot of them were good business people. Mm-hmm. And, I found that, my thought pattern was always that if you treated real estate like a business, you essentially could run it, like a business. And, if you did that, there was unlimited opportunity and unlimited potential, if you focused on, running it like an actual business rather than a hobby or, just a job.
Yeah. Or just a solopreneur. I mean, I see too much of that. I mean, I for the most part, it's people like you that are very successful because you come into it thinking like a business instead of just, hey, I'm a solopreneur out there, hawking real estate. Now, we're recording this in November of 2014. You started 6 years ago in the worst year that you could ever start a real estate company. I mean, I mean, so, and for everybody, do the math. That's 2008 when the world was melting.
Yeah.
I mean, talk to us a little bit about that, because that is the scariest time to be in real estate. Nobody wanted to touch real estate in 2008.
Sure. I mean, it was kind of an interesting time because, the flip market had basically gone away. There were no builders building anymore. I mean, the banks weren't really willing to lend, any more money for flips, building, development. And, I looked at real estate. I mean, I saw, in my market, there were 40%, 50% of the realtors that I knew, that had signs up all over town were getting out of the business.
Yeah.
And, obviously, one of the things that I looked at was, the competition's going to be decreasing quite a bit in my marketplace. And I found that, if I was able to capitalize and be able to get into the market, there would be a big opportunity because people still needed realtors in 2008 and 2009, and there were just a lot fewer to choose from in my market.
Got it. Okay. Now, so did you get into the REO side of stuff? Is that how you started, or was it traditional from the beginning?
Traditional from the beginning. My thing has always been I never wanted to ride the wave, so I've never got into, never really did a lot of short sales. Short sales have always been less than 8% of my business. I never got a lot into new construction. I do a little bit of it, but it's never been the bulk of my business because in good times, new construction does well, but when the economy turns, new construction suffers. Yeah. REO and short sales, when the market is bad, that business thrives, but when the economy starts to get good, that business suffers. So I never, for me, from a business standpoint, never wanted to ride the wave. That's not, in my opinion, not a great business model because, great business model is the model of stability regardless of the market. Right.
A business independent of market conditions.
Absolutely.
So I want to get into some of the marketing stuff, but if I look at your 448 transactions, what is the percentage of buy versus sellers?
We're about a 60-40 business. 60% of them are, sellers and 40% are buyers.
Okay. So what kind of marketing did you, looking for that needle in the haystack in 2008, the person who, wasn't underwater, what did your marketing efforts look like, considering you are a business guy?
Yeah. So, in 2008, it was tough to find equity sellers. A lot of it was looking for people who didn't purchase their home between the years of basically 2004 and 2008. So that was my first target, when I started geographically farming different neighborhoods in different areas of more established, buyers and that kind of thing. And, those kinds of lists can, simply be pulled from a title company. So doing doing that. And then, when I first started, I mean, it was a lot of, meet and greet buyers, really get in front of open houses and, work as many of those as you possibly can, because, when the economy's down, buyers still want to buy. And, it was, that was definitely my market, was trying to target equity sellers and trying to work with buyers through open houses and different channels like that.
So with, considering that you had, 4 other consumer facing companies, did you come into this with a giant list?
I didn't.
Wow.
Actually, I didn't, because I'm just like anybody else. In 2008, 2009, not a lot of my friends and family were wanting to buy real estate. So, my very first year, I didn't sell a house for anybody I knew, and I think my very first year I sold 42 homes.
Wow.
With the number of homes. Yeah, not bad. I got my license, that first year, by the time I think I got my license in January, and by the end of December that year, I'd sold, 42 houses in a pretty bad market. Not bad for a first-year agent.
No, that's
but
great.
Definitely not where I wanted to be. But, yeah, so, that was kind of my first year. So
you had high hopes for yourself or because a lot of people I think would come in if they sold 42 their first year, especially in that kind of environment, they would think they're a rock star. And you always had not 42 but 442 in your mind.
I think that in my mind, I have a lot more than 442, so I'm not done yet. But, I definitely knew that my business model wasn't going to be built around selling, 40, 50, 60, even 100 homes a year. So, yeah, that assumption is correct.
Okay. So, again, I want to talk about where you want to go and how you're going to get there. If I go back to 2008, you could go to a title company and say, hey, listen, I want people who bought their house pre-2001, for example. So you get this list. What would you do? What's next? Mailers?
Yeah. So, I would do mailers, door hangers, door knock, anything I could possibly do to get in front of that client, my sales philosophy has always been, I'm kind of old school in the fact that nothing replaces a conversation or a handshake, right? So, you can mail to them all you want. You can, buy the latest and greatest internet widget, but nothing's going to replace that FaceTime and that handshake. So, you can send somebody 100 emails, but if I get a meeting, a face-to-face meeting, I'm more than likely going to be, taking that client because of, that personal relationship that I develop with them.
So someone like you, Aaron, you're a smart guy. Again, you're a serial entrepreneur. Did you get a coach early on, or is it just?
I didn't. I didn't have a real estate coach. My first 3 years in the business, I didn't have a real estate coach, believe it or not. I just kind of figured it out as I went. My training in the real estate business was, I remember I got sat in a room, with one other person with an office that was about, maybe 15 square feet. And, there was a desk with a telephone on it, and I was wished the best of luck. And, hopefully I can sell a house my first month.
Right. Yeah. It's like that. So again, you get sat down and said, hey, good luck. Here's a telephone. Where did you pull from? In terms of, did you have to was getting customers pretty easy for you because you've done it so many times before?
I think I may have had a little bit of, well, I shouldn't say may. I did. I had an advantage because I was always used to, conducting business in a professional setting with people. But, the thing for me was, that especially that first year was, I went to the top agents in my office and just kind of watched what they did. And for as basic of, a plan as they had, I sat down and said, what are the things that, I think there were maybe 5 or 6 top producers in that office at that time. And I went to each one of them and took little bits and pieces of what they did on a daily basis and tried to implement it into my routine and my schedule and my business plan. And, that's kind of how I was able to, figure it out my first year, I guess, my first year or two.
Sure. And you did some of that. So you did some of that basic stuff, door knocking and mailers. Was there anything that back in that time as well as today in terms of marketing that you did? What are some of the unique things that you figured out either then or along the way in terms of marketing?
Well, I think that, having a unique selling proposition is key, and you can learn about those, through all kinds of different programs, but, having some kind of something that sets you apart, that was the biggest thing for a new agent in the business, whether that's, hey, I'm going to answer my phone 24 hours a day, or, whatever your value proposition is, and you got to stand behind it and sell it well. That was probably the biggest thing. I really, my first year was able to brand myself as a local guy who was extremely familiar with the certain territory that I worked, and that worked well for me that first year. People would call me and talk to me about their neighborhood, the movement in that neighborhood, and kind of what the market was doing, because everybody was scared. Nobody knew what was going on with home values, the projection of home values, how much equity did they see themselves losing. So I got a lot of phone calls just kind of out of fear of the market, and I answered those. I added them to my database. Thank goodness I was, I figured that out early, was, add them to your database, even though they're not going to buy now, they may buy later. And, even this week, I had a call yesterday on Sunday from somebody that during that first year, I put them on my mailing list, my email list, my call list, and, I market to them, religiously. And they called me and said, hey, we're getting ready to sell our house. What do you think? Can you maybe come by this week? So, building a strong database of people that you meet, is definitely crucial.
Oh, it's crucial. And it's so basic, but there's a lot of people out there that have been in the business for, 2 to 7 years that still don't focus on a database. It's crazy to me.
Yeah.
Here's in real estate, it's funny. One of the reasons why I do this show is that real estate is in a lot of ways stuck in the 70s or 80s, right?
Yeah.
Listings have come online, but other than that, it hasn't changed much. Why do you think is something like real estate and something so basic as building your database, why is that not, why do people miss that? Why don't, I'm just going to leave that like that and see where you go.
I think that, really it comes down to the quality of the agents that are out there in the marketplace. It comes back down to the fact that, if you really look at it, real estate has one of the lowest costs, of entry of any business out there. And a lot of the people who are involved in our business just, they're not great business people. They might have some sales skills, or, they might do this part-time or whatever the case. And they just, they don't have a good business background. They don't have, a set game plan. And, our business is all about having a game plan, sticking to it, and execution. Yeah.
So I'm just writing that down, game plan and execution. So for you, Ryan, sorry, I was looking at your last name, Aaron, what do you know now that you wish you would have known when you started?
Oh, well, I think that the things that I would have, I think that, obviously everybody has to go through that trial of, learning the business and understanding the business, which, I did my first year, 2 years. Don't get me wrong, I still learn, every day, to this day. But the things that, I really wish that I would have focused on was, from day one, was understanding that, regardless of market, there's always buyers and sellers out there.
Right.
You don't want to listen to, a lot of the, I call them negative Nellies in the office that, think that the world's coming to an end. You got to shut those people out. One of the key things that I did early on was, even when I was affiliated with a large national brokerage, I always had my own office off-site that I came to every day and ran my team and ran my schedule, out of. So that I could control the environment and, control what was, kind of what the culture was in that office. So, that's probably the thing that I would have wished I would have learned, early on. One of my basic business philosophies, and I share it with my team every single day, is, I spend 90% of my time lead generating. I'm in the lead generation business. Real estate just happens to be the product that I sell. But, the person with the most buyers and sellers at the end of the day is the one who wins. And it's the same thing once you get a listing. Now you're spending 90% of your time generating, buyers for that property. If you can focus on that, you'll have an advantage in your marketplace.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I love that. You're in the lead generation business. You're in retail but your product just happens to be homes.
That's exactly it.
And one thing I heard this 2 weeks ago at a conference, and it's so simple. It's like when you meet someone who owns a home, at the end of the day, there's 100% chance that person is going to sell at some point, whether that's 30 years down the road when they die or 3 months from now. That's why I think it's so important to build that database. So if you're in the lead generation business, that's 90% of where your energy goes. What does that look like for you? I mean, that's, you can either answer that with how's your day structured, as well as like what are the arms that you go out to generate those leads.
Yeah, well, it's changed now. Now that I have an established, well-known business in my marketplace, I mean, that's changed quite a bit. Early on, it was a lot of prospecting. There was a lot of, direct mail. I mean, shoot, when I first got in the business, I designed my own direct mail. I labeled my own direct mail. I took it to the post office for bulk mailing. So, it's changed over the years. So it just depends on, if I'm trying to relate this to, the average agent out there, where you're at in your business, right? So if you're still actively working in your business every day, generating leads, it might be, your first 2 hours of your day are spent on the phone prospecting, trying to find buyers or sellers to work with, calling through your database, following up. Maybe you call FSBOs and expireds, and you're trying to do that route. So it just depends. That's one of those questions that I wish I had a magical answer for every agent out there, but it really depends on where you're at in your business.
Okay. Well, and so talking about where you're at, right? 448. Yeah. What's on deck for your future?
I'm sorry, Toby, you cut out there.
Oh, sorry, bud. Sorry. Where do you want to get to? Right, this year you'll end up with about 450 deals. You're not done yet. Where do you see yourself 2 years from now, and how are you going to get there?
Well, I think that for us, it's going to take a lot more growth into different marketplaces. I'm looking at opening offices, up and down the West Coast. So we're looking to expand into the California market, specifically San Diego.
That's where I'm at.
Looking. Oh, is it? Okay,
yeah.
Great. I spent a lot of time down in that Del Mar, La Jolla area.
Sure.
So, we're looking at expanding into that local marketplace up there. We're looking to expand into the Seattle marketplace, so just north of us about 4 hours. And really, that's how, we're going to grow in the next phases of our business. And, our goal is in the next 2 years to go from, almost 500 transactions to, the next big milestone for us is going to be 1,000.
Right. It's so funny that number, that 1,000 mark is Bob Corcoran. I don't know if you know who Bob Corcoran is, but
I do.
Yeah. So I'm friends with Bob, and I asked him. I said, "Hey, Bob, do you know anybody that's gone over the hit that 1,000?" And he said, "No, Toby, I don't." And he's been doing this for 25 years. And literally the next week, I came in and I asked that question that I asked you: team transactions. My first guy was a guy named Ryan O'Neill in I don't know where he's at. And he says, this year we'll do 1,300. And last year we did 1,220. I'm like, holy smokes. And he does that with a team of 22. And you're at 21 right now. In terms of, earlier you said you have to know you have to have a unique selling proposition. Yours at the time was being the guy with local knowledge. As you've grown, and as you've grown your team, has that USP changed for you?
Yeah, I mean, for us, we're the number one real estate team, in our marketplace. And, we sell more homes than anyone. And that's that's been what, a lot of people, have known us for. I use a lot of statistical information. So I use the fact that, I sell, almost 450 homes, average days on market, that kind of stuff. I use that as, part of my marketing, because now that I've grown and maintained an established business, we have that, those high-powered statistics behind us that we can share with a, buyer or seller.
Now, so Aaron, do you think you've kind of figured it out in a way that you have this business in a box and you can just transport it to Seattle and San Diego and be successful?
That's the key with any good business, is having a duplicatable and repeatable system that you can implement. If you were to, put yourself in the middle of a market where you've never been, you don't know anybody, being able to start that business up and sell homes right off the bat. And, that's one of the things that we've really focused on, is having the systems and the infrastructure to where, it's ran, again, Toby, like a business.
Yeah.
So, if we go into a different marketplace, it's, we have our set game plan, we have our checks and balances that we go into that marketplace, we set up, and, we know everything we need to do, learning from experience again, right? What to do and what not to do so that you can go into that local marketplace and dominate.
Well, so talk to us a little bit about those, what systems you have in place and what does that infrastructure look like?
Sure. What we have is, we know right off the bat, where our marketing dollars are best spent. We know, what staff you need, based on the level of transactions, from transaction coordination to listing coordination to runners to, whatever else you have, on your team. We know. I know exactly the footprint of my, my office space that I need to lease in a new market, based on the way that I had it set up. So just like a McDonald's would do, right?
Yeah.
Going into opening a new location, I have this same set game plan going into a new marketplace that, I need this size of an office. This is generally where, we like to set our offices up. We like to set ours up in professional high-rise buildings. These are the staff that we need. These are the salespeople that we need. These are the databases that we need. This is the CRM system that we need. So we have all that stuff down to kind of what works for our business. So
when you say you know how to best deploy your capital, how are you deploying your capital to generate 60% of your business being sellers?
Yeah. So the best use of our capital is, or the best use of our time and capital is investing in, a prospecting business. It goes back again to what we talked about earlier, is nothing beats human touch. So, investing a lot in, the lead generation of prospecting. And, that's been one of the biggest pillars to our business is, we're just really good prospectors. So getting your agents, your staff every single day to prospect, to find new buyers and sellers. That's going to be your highest ROI, by anything else that you do, direct mail, TV, radio, any of that stuff.
Right. And look, and it all comes back, there's no silver bullet. It's work. Prospecting is work. You have to go and do it. Now, do you do TV and radio?
I do.
You do? Are you a rate guy?
I'm not.
Got it. Okay. We should talk. I would love to learn offline. Let's talk about it, because that's part of what we do here. Now, so let's say that you go into, so your average, again, I want to talk about parachuting into a new market. You're in Portland, average sales 230,000. I imagine Seattle is probably something similar, but when you go into a market like San Diego, it's very, very different. When you think about going into a new market and taking your McDonaldizing a real estate business, how important do you think it is to sort of look at, have an environment similar to what you were seeing in Portland?
I think that, we've gone into, certain communities here in our local marketplace where we've targeted, higher end buyers and sellers. We do a lot of that business. We do a lot of lower end business. We do a lot of mid-range business. So I think that, obviously, when you go into a new market, understanding, researching what other top producers are doing, in those marketplaces, which I've done. I'm in the lowest, purchase price market, major market, on the West Coast. Portland, Seattle's, almost double. San Diego's almost triple.
Yeah.
So I mean, average median home price. So I'm in the lowest of the West Coast. So I think that, you need to adjust for, the local conditions because every market has their own rules and regulations. But, for the most part, it like you said earlier, I mean, it gets back down to, prospecting, FaceTime, and getting meetings and having more buyers and sellers to talk to than, the realtor next door.
Yeah. So for you, do you have a niche? Are you just, yeah, I mean, did you have any kind of a niche? And if you came to San Diego, would you niche down into beachfront property or equestrian property?
That's funny. That's a good question. I get asked that all the time. And, I'm a businessman. I go where the business is, right? So I'll go into any market, any part of town, as long as it's a good use of my time. If it's a property that I know I can sell and, a client that I know is motivated, then I'm going there. So I've never kind of pigeonholed myself into a niche. I've always stayed pretty wide open, and, it's worked well for me.
Interesting. So if you came to a San Diego or a Seattle, whatever, what would you do? I mean, I want to talk a little bit about recruiting. I mean, what are the steps that you would take to, because I get this all the time, right? Hey, I want to be like Aaron, but I don't know how to find these people. What would you do, and how would you go about recruiting the right staff for your offices?
Sure. Well, I think that, obviously, we use to start off, right? I mean, it's about finding, top quality people, in the organization, because, that's one of the things that, I've focused on pretty heavily over the last 24 months, I would say, Toby, is, I want to find the best people possible and place them in my organization, right? Mm-hmm. So, for me, it's always been, even if I don't have a spot available, if I have talent and I see talent, I'll make a spot for them.
Yeah.
I'm a lead generator / talent agent, and going into a new marketplace, I mean, it's, again, it's just being able to find who, the top people are for your organization. So whether that's reaching out to them, and then, trying again, just to get in front of them, to talk to them about, what your value proposition is of your organization, or, placing ads to find, good quality salespeople, getting them through things like a disc assessment, which I highly recommend, making sure that you utilize, personality profile and, make sure you check references. And, I mean, that's really been kind of the key for us. I mean, that's how we built our organization up here in Portland was, we never stopped prospecting for business, and we never stopped prospecting for talent. So we're always looking, whether that's through Craigslist, through Career Builder, through Monster, through whatever job board, or title companies are a great source for referrals for agents and staff. So we always tie into those pretty heavily, and we're always interviewing and meeting new people, and seeing who could be a added value to our organization.
Yeah, I love it. So in terms of the disc profile, where are you? What do you look like?
I'm a high D.
High D.
High D.
What about I?
I'm that's my secondary trait is an I. So I'm a DI.
I'm 99D, 99I, and 34S and 34C. So when you put, so you meet somebody, you're like, hey, I like this guy, because somebody can be a really, really high I, right? He's really gregarious. You like this person.
Yeah.
What do you look for?
Well, it depends on the job, right? It depends on the position that you're recruiting for. So, I'll give you an example. I mean, a buyer's agent, I always look for a high I. I want somebody who's a great relationship person, somebody who's got a lot of personality, and, they want to be, the person that works with somebody for, 3 months, 4 months, right. As to where guys like me and you, for high D, we want to close that person on the spot and move on to the next one, right? So Absolutely. It depends on the position that I'm filling for. Okay. So, listing specialists, you want a D. Buyer specialist, I want an I. Staff, it's going to be an S or a C. So it just depends on what I'm looking for.
Okay, no, that's great. I mean, you just outlined it perfectly for everybody. Okay, so you meet these people, and they have the right profile for the job that you're thinking of. what is your value prop? Where would you, again, if somebody wants to try to, be like Aaron, when you say, hey, come onto my team, it's going to be one of three things, or maybe a combination, right? It's going to be, hey, I'm going to give you leads, or hey, I'm going to give you a ton of training and I'm going to build you up, or I'm going to give you more attractive splits. What is your value proposition in that regard?
Yeah. So I'm going to show you how to sell 3 to 4 times more real estate than you're selling today. Guaranteed.
That's compelling. I mean, and does this come back down to just, again, prospecting and hard work, and that there is no silver bullet?
I'm going to get them in front of more people than they've ever seen before. And they're going to have more clients working, with our team and our organization than they've ever seen. And, it's never failed us once. I mean, people come to work here, they see more clients, they have more opportunities to close sales, and, they learn that real estate is a career, it's not a hobby. And they get, they learn the basic business skills that it takes to, be a business person in the real estate industry. And, we put them on a schedule. We show them, what they need to do to be successful, and we ensure that they're going to be in front of more clients than anybody else.
Now, earlier you talked about culture, and culture for attracting a new talent and retention of that talent is really, really key. What does your culture look like in your office? Is it fun? Is it all about learning based?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's got to have a combination of different things, right? It's got to be a professional environment. It's a fun environment. I mean, you want people who are going to fit together and work well together. Everybody's got to be a learning-based person, because the minute you think you know it all, that's when, you run into problems and you can't grow any further. It's having a hybrid. We've kind of developed a culture where everybody's there to support everybody else. I mean, everybody understands. They look forward to, our Monday morning meetings, because there's education as well as company updates, in those meetings. And everybody who's excited about growth, because that's what we are. We're a high growth company, and, you got to get buy-in from everybody. You're not going to go from 448 deals to 1,000 by yourself, right? You got to have everybody on the same page and everybody bought into, your vision and what you see happening with your organization if you want to be successful.
Right. I totally agree. So when you look for talent, Aaron, look, you've done this a million times in terms of, finding somebody, bringing them on. For you, what has worked best? Getting the brand new agent so you can mold them, or somebody that's got, somebody's been in it for a few years, or somebody that's really seasoned? Where have you found success?
Don't focus on their background. Don't focus on their, experience level as it, relates to real estate. Take that out of the equation. Look at their track record in any industry, whether it's real estate, insurance, financial services, whatever it is. Look at their track record of success in other industries and focus on their personality and what value they can bring as, a person and an employee to your organization. Because my thing is, my theory has always been, I can teach you how to sell real estate better than anybody else, but I can't teach you how to be a hard worker. Right. I can't teach you how to show up every day and do the things that you're supposed to be doing.
Right. Yeah. And just for you, look, this is going to be kind of a long one, so stick with me here. Real estate, selling real estate, or being sales in general, but it's a business of rejection, right? You hear no all the time. How did you started again in the worst time in the history of mankind to sell real estate. How did you stay upbeat and positive? And do you ever feel like that? Have days where you feel like you got kicked in the gut and you're like, I can't do this today or this week?
Sure. Everybody has those days. I mean, I'd be lying to you if I told you I didn't have days where, I just, I didn't feel like I got beat up a little bit. In those days, keep it in perspective, right? On those days, typically I call it a day. I go home.
Got it.
And I spend time with my family and, go to the gym and, spend time doing things that I like to do. It's pretty simple. If you're negative and you're in a negative mindset, don't stay there and keep doing the same thing. Leave for a few hours and get yourself, refreshed and go back tomorrow and do it over again.
Right.
Early on, I had to that all I need, is one person to say yes to me. It's kind of like the open house thing, right? When I first started, I'd do 4 open houses a weekend. And my goal wasn't necessarily to sell those homes. My goal wasn't, to get that property sold, by the end of the day, because I was holding other agents' open houses. My goal was to pick up one buyer that wanted to buy in the next 30 days. And if I did that every single weekend, I mean, again, right, it goes back to my simple math. If I picked up one buyer every single weekend, that was 4 transactions a month, it would equate to 48 transactions that first year. And that was my mindset, and my goal was, I don't need everybody to say yes to me. I just need one person to say yes to me. Because I can reach my goal with that one person saying yes.
Right, and that's the number. Look, that's the number you almost hit, right? You've hit 42.
That's exactly it.
God, I love that. We have to start wrapping up here. But again, guys like you, Aaron, I'm fascinated with, because you've built this great business, but there's no complacency in you. Not only do you want to get to 1,000 transactions in this office, you want to go out and conquer the West Coast. I mean, are you just have you always been a competitor, or what is that?
I'm a very competitive guy. I'm a very, very competitive guy. I mean, I had a sports background. I played sports, and the only thing I can equate it to is if you've ever watched Kobe Bryant on the court, and his tenacity and his aggressiveness. I think that I have that same kind of aggressiveness and tenacity in the business world.
Got it. And again, that's something you can't teach. That hustle, right? That tenacity. That's something you either have or you don't.
That's exactly it.
So for you, again, you have all these goals. I want to get to 1,000 transactions. I want an office in San Diego and Seattle. How do you keep your day from your day or week or month from spiraling out of control? How do you how do you do that?
That's a good question, because a lot of things come at you, on different days. And my basics, right? If it's not on my schedule, it doesn't exist. I know what my schedule looks like for the day. I stick to my schedule. And if you're not on my schedule for that day, then you can, get on my schedule for later that week. And that will keep you organized and on track. And no matter how many things you got coming at you, if it's not on your schedule, it doesn't happen that day.
Yeah. No, I'm the same way. I live out of my calendar. So again, for you, if you teach, prospecting, and 90% of your day is prospecting, how do you think about, social media, and how do you think about sites like, Zillow and Trulia? Do you use them, or what's your thoughts around that?
I don't use Zillow and Trulia. I mean, of course, my listings feed in there. I don't use it. I don't pay to pay to get the leads from there. I don't know. I've never been a big Zillow, Trulia, social media guy. I mean, again, you can only do so many things during the day, right?
Yeah.
So I found that, if I stick to the main pillars of my business, and I get very, very good at those, that's what I need to focus my time on, because I only have 24 hours in a day, just like you and just like anybody else that's listening. So what I focus on and what I spend my time doing, I need to master and be the best at. And unfortunately, things like the Zillow, the Trulia, the social media, are just things that I haven't implemented into my arsenal.
Right. And look, that same 24 hours, we all have the same 24 hours that Mark Cuban has, or that Bill Gates had, or Steve Jobs had. And it's just, if you look at what those people have done, and if you look at what you have done, and then people in the audience are going, man, I want to get there. And I think it's again, so basic. We all have the same 24 hours. Focus on how to use them appropriately. I'm going to ask you kind of a crazy question that I don't ask everybody. But again, I think guys like you are fascinating. What is something I didn't ask you, but I should have asked you?
The question that you should have asked me that's a good question. You should have asked me if I'll coach you how to sell real estate.
Yeah. Well, answer that, please.
We are in the process of, looking at setting up a small, close group of coaching clients. that want to do exactly what we've done, which is set up a repeatable and duplicatable business. And, I get a lot of calls and a lot of inquiries from different agents and different people throughout the country asking me all the time, if I will mentor them or if I will, help them in the business. And, there's definitely a need for this service. And, we're looking at over the next 60 days forming a group of, a maximum of 12 to, 10 to 12 people to begin, coaching and mentoring to help get to, this level of success.
Yeah. So I'll tell you what. I mean, I'm sure. You have a team. I'm sure you coach those people. But in terms of coaching, I mean, I coach a few people just because I have the show and people ask me about it all the time. Sometimes I get frustrated with coaching because I have some people where they just want me to tell them, like create lists for them, like tell me what to do. And then, over the course of working with them for a month or 6 weeks, all we have is this giant list, and it's the execution that they need to go do that they just don't do. And those people I drop. Have you experienced that, or what's your philosophy around coaching someone?
I've found that, the reason people don't implement things is because they can't stay focused, right? So, as a coach, I mean, you give people, a multitude of things. Like you asked me about Zillow and Trulia and social media and all these things. And, every agent that walks through my door, I mean, they ask me the same thing as, how I should be doing all these things. And the truth is you shouldn't be doing all those things. You should be focusing on, one thing at a time, mastering that and having accountability for, the task at hand. So, for me, what I found, especially in talking to agents, is that they're trying to do too many things. They're not doing anything efficiently, and they need to focus on, building solid pillars of business rather than having a bunch of stuff that they're not very good at.
I agree. So I'm going to finish up. We're going to finish up with the same last two questions I ask everybody. And the first one is this. I'm an aspiring agent. I have $25. What book should I go buy today?
Ooh, which book should you go buy today? Mastering the Rockefeller Habits.
Whoa. Who did that? I'm going to look that up right now.
Vern Harnish.
And what's that? Mastering the Rockefeller Habits. What's that about?
He's the growth guru, he's a columnist for Fortune.com. I mean, he just, kind of reminds you of the things that you should be doing, to grow your business and stay on task and to, things that you can do to increase the value, of your growing company. So, I mean, great book, great read. I recommend anybody out there, if you haven't read Mastering the Rockefeller Habits, you get the book, read it, and it'll be a game changer for you.
Well, I'm going to get it today. I can get it. I can get it on eBay for $1. And listen, if you want to get a free copy of Mastering the Rockefeller Habits by Vern Harnish, just use our link. It's audibletrial.com/superagentslive. So go get that today. For you, Aaron, do you think that what personal habits do you have that has contributed to your success?
Oh, well, I mean, I think that staying on a schedule, number one. Don't deviate from that schedule daily. Have a set game plan every single day. That's a habit that I have, is that, I'm religious about knowing what I'm going to do for the day. Hard work. I mean, I get up early. I get up at 4 a.m., 4:30 a.m., 5 a.m. every single day. Yeah, go to the gym, get a good workout in, get into the office, and, start my day. So, getting a routine down, so you know what to expect in your day. That's those are some of the basics, that I'd recommend for people.
Got it. I love it. Okay. So, I'm sure when people hear this, they're gonna do one of three things. Either one, they're gonna want to reach out and say thank you, which I'm gonna say thank you for coming on the show right now. Or two, they're gonna say, hey, I would love to get coached by Aaron. Or three, they're gonna say, I want to join that guy's team when he gets to San Diego or Seattle or even in Portland. Tell everybody where they can find you. Where can they reach out and say hello?
Sure. They can find us on the web at theriangroup.com, and my name is spelled kind of differently. It's RIAN, theriangroup.com. they can call my office and schedule an appointment to speak to me at 503-343-1666, or they can shoot me an email at aaron@theriangroup.com.
Awesome. Hey, man, thanks for coming on the show, and we're going to end it here. But let's keep in touch. I want to talk about what you're doing with radio.
Sounds great.
See you, bud.
All right, guys. Have a great day.
You too.
Let's go.